Well, first off, thank you for your service. Tip of the hat for that. Appreciate your service. You can never say it enough, but particularly for our Vietnam veterans, particularly appreciate that. And I think you can appreciate this as much as anyone else here. No matter who the Commander-in-Chief is in the future, anytime the Commander-in-Chief makes a decision that will ultimately involve in American men or women being called into harm's way, we need to have a clear mission and we need to follow through on that mission. Now, with the caveat here, I want to be clear because I don't want to get ahead of the game, but should we choose to get in this race, and we're obviously feeling pretty strong about reactions like we heard here today and others across the country, and should we be blessed with the opportunity to earn the votes of people not only here in New Hampshire but around the country, one of the things I would take most seriously is not just being president, but being Commander-in-Chief, because I got to tell you, I'm not a big bracelet person, but I've got 3 bracelets on my arm that come from Gold Star families whose funerals I've gone for their, either as governor or before, for their sons. And as I think about a question like that, to me, I think about the fact that personally, I don't want to ever go to a funeral like that again. But I also know for those sons and for the sons and daughters that they represent across this country, I also want to make sure that I can look those families in the eye and say their son or other sons and daughters like them did not die in vain, and that we will live up to the mighty goals that caused them and that led them into serving our country in the first place. And so to me, I look at what I believe is not well defined by some in our political discourse today, and that is, I think our clearest threat right now is radical Islamic terrorism. I see it embodied right now in Syria and Libya, but growing elsewhere around the world. And I just believe fundamentally when you listen to the leaders of organizations like ISIS and others like them, it is clear what their intent is. It's not to stay in the Middle East. It is eventually to come back to American soil and to cause harm against Americans because that's their identified threat there. And so my belief is that just like a virus in a computer, that we need to go to whatever length is required to make sure that we eradicate radical Islamic terrorism where it's at before it washes up. I don't believe that means you automatically go with ground troops, although unlike this president, I will not signal to our enemies how far we will go. I think that's a problem. Even Leon Panetta, his former Secretary of Defense, has said that's a mistake because they'll just wait you out. But I think we should not be doing it alone. I think first and foremost, you've got to consult with the Congress. You need to listen to those who advise you, not just the Joint Chiefs, but the generals in the field to get a real feel for what's going on, as well as your intelligence community. I think we need to branch out and reaffirm our allies, as I mentioned, restating Israel as a prime ally, but also working with the United Kingdom, with Germany, with Japan, with Australia, with Canada, with others out there. And then I believe increasingly, in light of what's happened in the last 6 or 7 months, I believe there are partners in the coalition we can draw on from the Arab world, like Jordan, like Egypt, because of what's happened to their own citizens out there, and have a true coalition force. And then we've got to take action depending on where appropriately designed by our military and our coalition forces. So I'm not proposing to engage full-scale boots on the ground, but I'm not taking that off the table because I think we need to be clear what our objective is, and our objective has to be a generational act to make sure that we eradicate radical Islamic terrorism before it comes to our shore.